On the 4th of February, the developers did a Q&A livestream where they unveiled an upcoming change to Decisive Strike and a proposed change to Objective Obsession. As a Dead by Daylight YouTuber, I'm fairly certain that Behavior will send the boys round if I don't do a video covering this. Or if not Behavior, then you guys, right? First off, here are some other things that they mentioned during the live stream. They've developed better metrics to gauge the cause of frame rate drops and are working to improve these drops across every platform. Switch cross progression will be coming early Q2 of this year, but there's no solid timeline on it coming to other consoles. The new HUD will be going live largely unchanged as they want to gauge feedback from the entire community rather than just Steam players. However, the colorblind issues will be fixed prior to release. The key rework is coming and is going to be more substantial than the Mori rework that we saw late last year. Elodie's scream loudness bug will be fixed soon. The Blight's field of view will be getting fixed in the next chapter, and the Legion's acceleration bug will be getting fixed in a hotfix after the mid-chapter update next week. There's a lot more, but these are the most update interesting-y things that they spoke about. I still recommend checking out the whole thing as they go into detail about things like slugging and tunneling and whether or not they have any plans to remove them. They don't, by the way. They think they're perfectly valid means of gameplay, which I think will upset people, but like if you watch the video, they explain why, and initially I was like, oh, not sure about that, but then I was like, actually, yeah, that's fair. So let's talk about DS and ooh. Decisive Strike will now deactivate when repairing a generator, healing, cleansing a totem, sabotaging a hook, or unhooking others. It will not deactivate if you jump into a locker. That part of the game is still there. I've personally never had an issue with DS. As a red rank survivor main, I don't take it, and when I do play killer at purple ranks, it doesn't really bother me too much. You just kind of have to assume that everyone is going to be taking it. I think the big issue that this update addresses is that sometimes you do get surprised by it as a killer. 60 seconds is about a 15th of the average game, and that feels like a hell of a long time to have to wait before hooking someone again, but you could argue that hooking someone twice within 60 seconds is just tunneling. Here's the thing though, it isn't tunneling if someone gets unhooked and then they immediately seek you out and jump out in front of you, or if you start moving towards the hook after you've been saved and they're hiding out nearby in a terribly obvious spot, or if there's a gen nearby and they immediately jump on that despite you moving back towards the hook. That isn't tunneling, that's just the survivor playing bad. And this change accommodates for those situations and makes the whole thing a lot less overpowered. As I say, I'm not a killer main, nor do I take DS, nor do I really care about it when I play against it, but I know that a lot of killers have been begging for a nerf for over a year now, so this is a welcome change. If you're a killer main, I'd really be interested in knowing your thoughts on it. My opinions on it are garbage because I don't play killer too much, so doesn't matter what I think. Objective Obsession's change is only a proposal at this stage. It's been revealed pre-implementation so that behavior can gauge feedback to the idea and see if it's a good one. Where before, would reveal your aura to the killer and the killer's aura to you if you looked in their direction. It will now reveal your aura to the killer once every 30 seconds if you were the obsession, and reveal the killer's aura to you every time your aura is visible to the killer. I've seen a few people say that first ability seems weird. Why would you want your aura to be revealed to the killer? But the second bit means that when your aura is revealed to the killer, you also see the killer, so it's pretty much the same as it was before. It just procs once every 30 seconds for 3 seconds rather than constantly. That means that if an add-on would show your aura or the killer has a perk like barbecue and chili, you can now know exactly when they can see you and how they're using that information. You could dummy a direction to move in and get information about the killer's perks and add-ons a lot easier than before. This changes a multitude of strategic options and removes it from the meme/toxic tier, they're the same thing really, let's be real, to a fun/interesting tier. It's no longer necessarily about getting into chases fast, but getting little points of data from both sides with the added bonus of being able to hide away between procs. There are also aura reading abilities like add-ons for different killers that aren't immediately obvious when you first start playing against that killer. What this does is allows you to kind of use that information back with the killer. Let's take, for example, Bubba's chainsaw add-on that allows him to see the auras of survivors within 8 meters while revving his chainsaw. Before, you couldn't accurately tell that a killer had that. You might just assume that they saw you. Now, you're going to be able to be like, I know you've got that, so now I can counter it, rather than not knowing you had that until the end of the game or having to make a guess. Personally, I think that both of these changes are really cool ideas. The Decisive Strike one feels like a small one, but it's going to make a big difference to the way that perk is played, and hopefully the meta and the way the community perceives it. And the Objective Obsession one is just cool and fun and interesting. Some of my favorite perks are Autodidact and Head On and Deception, Pebble, and that's because these are fun perks to take, not because they're particularly viable. Objective Obsession I've only ever used in meme builds, say if chat requests no mid and self-care, then Objective Obsession usually follows, because that means I'm going to be getting into chases and downed extremely fast. And this makes it more of a viable perk, and I'm interested to see how strategies form around it. Today's question comes from Pastor Dana Boca, who asks, do you think DBD is fun, and do you think the community is toxic? Yes, to both of those. I think that Dead by Daylight players are uniquely entitled, and I think that this has a lot to do with the asymmetric nature of the game. There's an us versus them mentality which is bred throughout gameplay, and I think that manifests itself itself in a particularly toxic way. With that being said, I think there are wonderfully wholesome people in this community too, and the contrast between the worst of the community and the best of the community is really quite an interesting dynamic. Now, for the second thing, DBD is an extremely fun and satisfying game the majority of the time. I know that you probably disagree with me. If you play DBD, you probably hate the game. In fact, I say to people, I do not recommend this game to you because it will frustrate the hell out of you. But there's a reason why it's so popular and is only growing in popularity. There is a high degree of, whoa, I can't believe that just happened moments in the way it's designed, and that is what makes it so much fun. There's also a very high skill ceiling, and every game you go into is different. That keeps it fun. If it wasn't, then I'd think it would have died a long, long time ago. As well as the names on screen right now, I'd like to thank Lewis Hernan, Rissin, whose name I spelled correctly this time, Merciless Cheeseburger, Just a Pigeon, Santi Gamer, Valiant Praetorian, Joshua Daney, Alia E, and Ramiz. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, I need him to swing here. How do I make him swing?